Welcome everyone, I'm Esther Kovac, the moderator of the Internet of Autonomous Drones section here at NextGen. And before I welcome the speakers, I would like to have a little bit of information section about the house rules of this webinar. Please, I would like to inform all the attendees the webinar is recorded and it will be available for online viewing soon in next 7 days. There is also a Q&A session on the right of your screen where you can ask questions during this webinar session from the speakers and myself. And I would like to share and welcome our speakers. But before that, of course, our sponsors as well, DJ and Sunflower Lab, who sponsored this online conference. Thank you so much. A big thumbs up for them. And of course, thank you so much for Vasily to organizing and holding the whole webinar in her hands and making this event happen. So first, I would like to welcome Kapil Mittal, who is the co-founder and CEO at Ericsson Drone Mobility. Kapil, feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Esther, and thank you, Jen. It's wonderful, although it's a Saturday, but looks like it's a house full. So my name is Kapil. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ericsson Drone Mobility. It's a cutting-edge technology that leverages intelligence from telecom networks to make the enterprise drones fly safe and secure in beyond visual line of sight. And we'll talk about this during our discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the next speaker is Hans Similon, who is a general manager at CitySmart Safety Drone. Please, Hans.
Hello, also from my side. Welcome and thank you, Flightbase and Esther, to organize this great webinar. My name is Hans Similon. I'm a general manager with CityMesh. CityMesh is a Belgium telecom company, and we also invested in our own drone network. We're deploying, as we speak, 70 DIBs, drones in a box, all over the country. They will be connected to the first responders, and they will be controlled from 5 remote operation centers by 40 pilots. And we're doing that as we speak with the Nokia 5G controlled drone.
Fantastic. And next, Jan Peterson, who is the head of advanced IoT and drones at Telia company. Hans, I think you are muted. We couldn't hear you.
So we try it again. Thank you very much for having me, and hi to everyone. My name is Jan Pettersson, and I'm head of the Advanced IoT and Drones at Telia Company Division X, the incubator for innovation program at Telia. And Telia Company, we are a leading Swedish multinational telecommunication firm that operates not only in Sweden, where we have the headquarters and where I am based, but also across the Nordic and the Baltic regions. So up in the north of Europe. So that includes not only Sweden, but Finland, Norway, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And we invest a lot, of course, in 5G. Telia have mobile network belongs to the top 5 of the highest ranked mobile network in the world. But except of investing in 5G mobile networks, we also have identified the airspace as a potential growth area for us. So we have run an innovation program jointly together with Ericsson, of course, and a few other relevant and important partners in the ecosystem. And I will tell you more about our experiences later in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And the next is Paramod Kashyap, who is a director of Internet of Things and E-End Enterprise. Please, Paramod.
Thank you, Esther. It's delighted to be here, to be part of this esteemed panel. Myself, I'm Pramod Kashyap. I'm a director at E-End Enterprise. which is a digital services company, part of E&, Group, which is erstwhile Etisalat. And as part of our value proposition, we provide cloud, IoT, cybersecurity, and so on. So I belong to the IoT division, and in that, drones are part of the solution portfolio through which we provide services to government, enterprises, and so on in UAE.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I think the topic of utilizing cellular connectivity for BVLOS drone flights are there years now. We could all agree on that. And I was just wondering, during these last couple of years, how do you see, are we there already? Is cellular connectivity utilized today for BVLOS drone flights? And how this enables autonomy? And maybe Hans, if you would like to start with this question and the experience of your daily work in the last couple of years about this question.
Yeah, actually, at the moment we are controlling the drones over 5G. 5G giving extra security over the control, but also over the streams. It has low latency. There is also the possibility, of slicing and connecting to the private 5G. And we also use the 5G to insert the telemetry data of the drone in the UTM platform that we use. So at the moment, I can say that it's thanks to the 5G modules in our Nokia drones. We have actually 2 5G modems, so we can enter 4 SIM cards. We have a total solution that can be controlled from anywhere at any time.
That's fantastic. And I know, Hans, you have a lot of interesting projects. Just maybe if you can mention one, where you utilize those capabilities as of today in Belgium. And maybe if you could please elaborate on that.
Yes, so at the moment, we're deploying these 70 drones in a box for the first responders. And all these 70 drones are connected to the 5G. I think at the moment we have 25 active that are permanent standby, and it can be used by the first responders in Belgium.
Fantastic. So Jan, if I come to this topic of using 5G for cellular, using 5G and cellular connectivity for BVLOS drone flights, is it a reality of today already? And do you think this is already a revenue generation model and drives to full autonomy? What's your experience as of today, at Telia?
So, there's a lot of things going on, especially around blue light and the police. They have more relaxed regulations, of course, but they have already started to use, both in Norway and Sweden, drone-in-a-box services for surveillance and first responder use cases. And we are now about to connect them, not to 5G, but to 4G. So that is where we are. We have we have provided together with Ericsson 5G capabilities for autonomous vehicles, automotive to start with. We have built corridors in the country for automotive industry that can be used the next coming year also for drone services. So there is a lot of things going on, but we have not used 5G for those cases yet.
Fantastic. And Kapil, Jan mentioned, you work together, the 2 companies, on these initiatives to enable 5G. So I wanted to ask you about how cellular connectivity enables autonomous drone operations. How do you see, and what Ericsson does today to enable those operations in a digital airspace?
Thank you, sir. I think it's important to understand the pain points that the current organizations who fly drones face. For example, when you fly beyond visual line of sight, a critical element is how do you mitigate the ground risk of not flying over heads of people. How do you know in real time that there's a school happening or there are people, maybe a rally is happening? So that information is not readily available. But telecom networks have that. So we were able to leverage that real-time intelligence and relay it to fly drones in flights. So drone can choose automatically to fly and not to fly in areas of congested areas. And that's a critical element which helps the organizations who are giving permits to enable permits as well. And that's possible working along with Yon and Telia to showcase that there are possibilities happening. Another important element which will lead to the autonomy of drones is a very good concern on security. How do you ensure that the drones are not hacked? Because currently everybody is using GPS locations. Uh, how do you ensure that the drones are not spoofed? You might be flying drone, but somebody might have hacked it. I think that's another element that when we worked with Telia and Yon, we were able to use mobile networks as a secondary source of validation. So then you know that the drone is in that area and not somewhere else. So some of these critical elements are there. And like Yon said, it's not only 5G, it's also available in 4G. Of course, 5G gives an additional benefit of better latency and a better bandwidth, but it's already available in the networks today. So some of these aspects we've been able to show, and this is not dependent on a single technology. If Ericsson can do it, others can do it. It's also about showing that capability to the industry. That's what we've been able to do with Telia and some other operators.
Fantastic. And Pramod, is the skies full with drones in Dubai, or what is going on in the Middle East? And personally, I just came back from the Middle East and I was very surprised how forward thinking are the authorities there. So do they utilize cellular connectivity, and what's your experience within the Middle East?
Right. I think you rightly mentioned it, Esther. We are truly blessed to be in this particular part of the world, which is where the authorities themselves are extremely tech savvy about adopting technology. So in that way, it is extremely, it makes our lives easier as well, because you just have to align to the vision of the authorities in terms of bringing up about innovation and providing technology. In terms of adoption of drone, yes, there are a lot of use cases and commercial use cases wherein drones have been employed in different verticals and different use cases. But when it comes to BB loss and adopting cellular itself, we are still in the nascent stage. We are getting there. In addition, I mean, to actually to make that happen, there are certain regulations that are being put in place, after which I see that there may be a plethora of use cases using cellular and BB laws that's going to show up very soon. But I think there are certain checks and regulations that has to be put in place, after which we see an explosion of such use cases, especially with cellular technology.
Thank you so much. And hence, is cellular connectivity is the unlocker for a fully autonomous, operation? How do you see that, or is it an enabler only, or connectivity is a must? Do you think in the future, in your, opinion? And the other question: how far do we have fully autonomous system today, or how far we are from that?
Well,
what do you think?
I think indeed it's a must. But without good connectivity, and I follow my colleagues in the panel, it's not only on 5G but also on 4G. You've got some advantages on the 5G, and as the 5G is available, you take the 5G. If not, you take the 4G. But connectivity is a must. The problem with the fully autonomous drones is not the capabilities, it's the legislation. It's not allowed today to do it fully autonomous. So you need indeed a human. And what better way to communicate with the drone than over 5G or 4G? So I think at the moment it's a must. It's critical because then you are sure that you have a good communication with your drone and the human, the pilot who is remotely operating the drone, controlling the drone, just on a legal perspective, just to be sure that you're in line with the legislation. And later on, it will be the quick connection between the drone and any system you have using AI or other technology to control the drone if the legislation is there. But in both cases, you cannot do it without good connectivity. And for me, sorry to say that, but good connectivity is only 4G or 5G. You cannot do it via Wi-Fi. It's too spoofy. It's too hackable. You're using 5G, 4G. You're using SIM cards, using private APNs, and then VPNs on top of that. So making sure that it's triple secured, I think that's the only solution and the only way forward.
And I think this is a very interesting topic because, that one of the hottest question, how can we make sure the data collected by the drone is protected, and privacy is respected? So Jan, what is your view on this data security and privacy? I know you have a lot of great examples from other IoT solutions and examples, I'm sure, but if you can bring up some example, maybe from automotive or other, and maybe you can also share your experience on security within the drone.
Well, I will not try to become security is very complex as such. But what we can see is that going from VLOS missions where you need to see the drone when you fly it remote to autonomous, using slicing for capturing data. At the moment, the drone operators, they often use, they upload the data from the payload sensor data to the SD card. And there is a lot of hassle around this. But if you can use a slice, and then you can, all the data, large amount of data can be uploaded on the slice right to the backbone of the customer's own site. That is really what we need to go after, and to explain and educate our customers that want to use drones to make their operation, the processes more productive. Because the first question they ask, this is really a nice tool, but is it secure? So I think that is really important. And 5G or 4G and slicing capabilities is really something that we need as an industry to educate our customers around.
And Pramod, do you also receive those questions, in the Middle East? Is it secure? And do you receive those questions about slicing? Is it the same at your side?
Absolutely. I mean, needless to say, there are a lot of security measures that are there when it comes to drone use cases. I'm sure Hans and Jan also would echo that when it comes to using drones by TLS protocols or using the VPNs and so on. And also an additional level of security can also be provided by cellular as well, wherein you are providing private APNs so that it doesn't really break out to the internet, and then you are having a network of your own which is highly secure. And these high secure machine-to-machine SIMs with private APN provides that additional security layer in order to allay the concerns of different security concerns that are there.
Kapil, the tricky question. Okay, autonomous drones are coming via cellular network, but they need to be integrated to already existing infrastructure. So what do you see? What are the challenges today to integrate drone operations to already existing infrastructure, autonomously, and have all communicate, all the machines or control centers or users, depends who shares data.
We believe that if this industry, the overall drone industry, and I'm talking about the consumer drones, I'm talking about more the enterprise drones, and I'm not talking about the military drones either, but focusing on enterprise drone, that's what the commercial market is. We believe that this market to thrive, a critical element which is missing today is uh, the emergence of those drone manufacturers who have 4G or 5G chipset integrated into the drone. So, as a makeshift or as an interim solution, what we see in the system or in the industry here is a lot of modules which can be hooked on top of a drone, which would even have 4G, 5G, or even a satellite backhaul. Uh, but those are good enough currently to track the drones. However, if we have to really make sure that you are able to maneuver the behavior of a drone in flight, it's important to have those drones with 5G or 4G capability inbuilt. And those drones are not there much, and they're not standardized. Recently, Skydio did come up with a 5G integrated drone, and I understand DJI may also be in the process in the roadmap. So I think that's a critical element which is missing today. And unless that happens, it will be very difficult to fully leverage the capabilities of telecom operations into flights of drones. So I think that's something as a collaboration. I know you will discuss about collaboration as well as going forward, but that is an element which is super important to get going.
And Hans, I know you already, have a lot of use cases in Belgium and you fly frequently. What do you see regarding this infrastructure challenges or how to integrate, maybe to enterprise infrastructures, autonomous drones, or do you also see the same problem in the manufacturing side? You mentioned you use the Nokia drones, and maybe share your experience on that, Hans, please.
Yes, what we see today is that sometimes we have enough from the from the public network, saying so we use the public 5G, 4G network, but we always try to combine it with the private network that the client sometimes has. And then when combining it with the private network of the client, you can also use the rest of his network. If they already have a network of sensors, EOT devices out there, you can integrate it with the drone, and you can program the drone that whenever a sensor gives an alarm, the drone automatically goes to the intruder alarm and gives a visual to the security agent. That are real-time cases happening today. We're doing with the Nokia drone and with some of our bugs that we're doing in Belgium. That's besides the first responders. For the first responders, the 5G is really critical. Because indeed, it's also already mentioned before by Jan, I think, at least the slicing part is really important on the 5G, because in case of a fire department or a police department, whenever there is an incident, there is a lot of people on the ground. And the first thing everybody's going to do is to take their mobile and going to film the incident and stream movies, photos of the incident. And then it's very hard using the public network without slicing to get the live images through the control room. So in there we see the big advantage of the 5G, where we can slice and provide a different slice, or the private network. So some big events in Belgium, we set up a private 5G network just to ensure that the drone has enough capacity to stream high quality video to the control room, where then the police and the fire department are witnessing the live images and to decide on the next actions to take.
I see, and maybe Jan, about this integrating autonomous vehicles to the already existing infrastructure. Is there any challenges, maybe not on cellular side, but enterprise side, when you serve your clients, what do you see? What are the current open questions?
Well, there are a lot of questions. I think there have been a lot of surveys asking citizens on the ground if they can accept drones in the air above their heads. That's one thing. What they say is, well, we can we support if there are drones for that from the blue light, for the police, etc. in the cities. That is really relevant, and if that can improve the safety in the cities, that could be really valuable. So coming back to these the infrastructure to support these services. For example, drone in the boxes that can be used from a command and control center, go after, for example, number plates on cars, follow these, etc. They need the secure infrastructure, of course, with all these network capabilities that we can provide. But it's not only about technology, it's also about education, because I think that is where everything starts. We need to educate each other in the full ecosystem about the possibilities and what the cellular can provide, what the regulations demand and requires, etc. So there is a complex environment, and is not only about technology. That's for sure. That is my experience.
Yes, I cannot agree more. And coming to my favorite topic, with that in mind, Pramod, I think it's important we not only talk to our own self, about ourselves, So I think it's open. We need to open the discussion towards the different stakeholders, government layers, So what's your experience in Dubai? How do you see how stakeholders can work together to unlock this innovation? And what do you think what the future is about regarding talking maybe with users, cities, inhabitants of the city, and maybe transport officers and infrastructure, governmental stakeholders? So how do you see how these stakeholders can work or must work together on this?
Sure. So I think it's a no-brainer that definitely it's an ecosystem play that has to be that should come together in order to actually make such a solution successful, especially considering there are so many obscurity that are there, say for deploying the solution. I think one of the biggest challenges that also we looked at was, in addition to the technology limitations, you also have the regulatory challenges as well, because there are no standards and there are no interoperability kind of a mechanism in place. For example, now when we look at deploying a BVLOS solution, we are looking at sharing the airspace with a manned aircraft from a traffic management of an aircraft from the ATM side. So there is a good amount of work to be done, wherein that handshake has to be properly in place between the aircraft traffic management and the drone traffic management as well. In addition to that, of course, yes, the public acceptance, because we do have scenarios wherein when we are actually there is a use case that a builder wants to deploy, but you have a resistance coming from the tenants of that particular space, of that particular area, because they are not really comfortable having a drone hover around the towers. So the public acceptance also is extremely key as well. Having said that, there are certain isolated agencies, I would say, the government agencies that are actually doing good amount of work and conducting proof of concepts and trials and so on using drone. For example, the traffic authorities, they have actually conducted drone trials for manning the traffic junction in order to actually look at the intensity of traffic or any condition that is there, so that corrective action can be taken. And also you have the authorities who are law enforcement authorities that are actually having information from the incident management system and then looking at how can I deploy a drone and send it to the incidents from their IMS. Send the drone, have the location details sent to a drone, and the drone takes off to that location, and it has cameras as payload, and it gives information to the backend IMS system. So definitely there is a lot of activity that's happening, and there is a convergence that is happening in Dubai and UAE as well, wherein the government actually is coming together to see what are the different measures that they should take in order to in order to increase the use case and increase the deployment of drone use cases in the country.
Esther, you're on mute.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you. So Hans, I am wondering, back to autonomy. So we have those use cases, first responders, traffic conjunctions, checks, and currently, I think more and more operations, part of the operations, data sharing and others can be done autonomously, right? So is it something which enables the discussion with regulators, or how do they think about, these autonomous operations? Is it something which helps, or regulators still also need to be educated about, those questions? Hans, any experience on this in Belgium? Yeah.
Yes, I think we're working closely with the regulators in Belgium, but also in Europe, and we're creating use spaces where possible, where we have a geo manager and a UTM platform combining all these information. I think the problem with fully autonomous drones is not the drone on such, it's the human people. The moment you take out the human out of the equation, we're very afraid. If you look about the discussion about autonomous cars, at a certain point, they ask the question, you're in a situation as a car and you should kill, or you can kill a child or an elder woman. Who are you going to kill? Now, I did my exam only once, but I never had a question like that. So the moment we as a human give the control over to the computer, we're going to ask a lot of questions that we don't ask if a human's doing that. And that makes it very complex. So I think in general, it's very hard to do something fully autonomically. But the technology is there. And like Pramod is saying, we have the integration already automatically. So the moment an incident appears with the fire department, the coordinates are sent to the drone takes off. After a pilot just checks the weather and the traffic. That's the only thing he does. And then he says, take off, and the drone flies to the incident automatically, taking into account now fly zones, of course. And then as the drone is at the incident, the pilot is going to control the camera. But that's the only thing the pilot is doing at the moment. He's there to oversee the situation, and if needed, he will intervene. But on such, it's really automatic already.
Fantastic. So I think what you're saying, and I love this, this technology enables a human to be smarter and make smarter decisions and ease up the job of the human. That's how autonomy works. Kapil, what's your thought on it?
I agree with Hans. All this talk about autonomy is about working smartly. And I'll give you two examples from industry which we've seen. One is a favorite of everybody, which is inspection. So a lot of industries are using inspection using drones, and many of them at the back end are connecting it to creating of digital twins. For example, using our technology, we've been flying drones from our experts in Sweden, while the drone is actually flown in UK, in Port of Tyne and even cellular towers. As soon as the drone is able to capture the images in real time, the experts who are sitting in the remote center, maybe 100 or 200 kilometers, 500 kilometers away, they're able to pinpoint to the areas which could be problematic, which a normal eye cannot see. At the same time, the data is fed into the digital twin generation systems. So in just one go, the live data is fed into digital twins, and that's how the smart technology is made up. Another use case that we've seen in Scandinavia and even in US is, there's events which is forest fires. And I think that's where what Hans said about autonomy in terms of drone in a box, are also being utilized in many countries, where by click of a button, if there is an incident which is happening, drones can fly over and come back to the same docking station. So there are examples of autonomy being given to the drone ecosystem where the human becomes a smart element. And I think that's where the cellular technologies will scale these use cases further.
Thank you, Kapil. Jan, I think, people loved when you mentioned, we talked about, good examples from other industries, I see here in the chat. And, this autonomy, how does it work with other industries? I know you have a broader job than only drones. You are responsible, the whole IoT. So this is why I'm asking this question, you and also maybe Pramod after, like, is it something which in other industries we could learn from them, as I mentioned before, and they are 2 steps further to enable those innovations within the IoT space? And what can we mention? Maybe I just see people love those examples here in the chat. This is why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, so to answer that question, I think with 5G is built for autonomous vehicles, whether it is drones, robots, cars. So that is really the beauty of 5G, right, Kapil? And of course, from an IoT perspective or a telco perspective, for us, if Telia, we are after more business. So for Telia is to provide, we call it advanced IoT SIMs for autonomous vehicles and robots in that sense. We normally sell traditional SIM cards, we sell IoT SIM cards to machine, but advanced IoT SIMs, that's something new. Because that kind of SIM cards that we use for drones always need to provide connectivity, whether it is in urban areas or rural areas, wherever, to connect to satellites or room to other telco operators. So that is where I think the business is for a telco. If the regulations is not in place in our markets, to allow BVLOS missions, then then this business will not happen. And that is, of course, very important that we have a close collaboration with the authorities and educate them about what mobile networks. We have one of the 5 best in the world. So we spend a lot of time in this ecosystem to train them about what assets we have and how this can provide safety, flying drones autonomous. And we also really want this new market, this new industry where aviation and telco meet each other to take off. And that means that we can start to fly autonomous in rural areas where you don't have that much ground risk. And that could be to take away risk for people. Instead of people, you use these kind of tools to capture data, to train the data by AI, and to really make alerts to subcontractors, etc., in real time. So there are so many use cases that we can already start. And then in the cities, in the urban areas, of course, the police, but they have, as I said before, more relaxed regulations to improve the safety in the cities. So with that, I stop there, but there's a lot around this, and I think it's super important to collaborate in the ecosystem with all these very skilled people and discuss and learn from each other to explore and to take off these new opportunities.
Fantastic. I cannot agree more. I think now we are creating this business for everyone, to be honest, involved. So we need to kind of collaborate and create it first, and after we can harvest, together on the success. So Pramod, creating, those ecosystem. How about this Dubai police use case? Via the internet, it's everywhere. Dubai police utilizing drones, daily basis. and they are very open about it. And can you share some examples or some news about those? Yeah.
Right. So I think the different use cases that are there in UAE are very much in the public domain, from using drones to plant the seeds for the GAF trees. Just GAF tree is actually the national tree of UAE. So drones were used to seed around I don't know 1 million seeds across the different different areas at a faster pace. One of the interesting use case was with ADNOC, which is basically the national oil company, that as part of the sustainability effort, they took up an initiative to seed 2.5 million mangroves, okay, in UAE as well. Dubai police, of course, yes, in order to see how do we regulate the traffic congestion, how do we actually look at the traffic pileup that has happened in certain busy traffic junctions. And I also mentioned about earlier the possibility of sending a message about a particular location from the incident management center to a drone, so that it actually takes off and then provides information back to the IMS, the live feeds from the accident sites. So these are all different interesting use cases that are there. And I think another area that actually is often missed is about because you talked about the IoT and the implication of IoT to drone as well. So the location is something extremely important, and it has to be precise as well. Because in the normal GPS scenario, there is always an error, there's an aberration in terms of the precise location itself. So what telcos are actually doing now is to look at how do we address this GNSS correction by employing precise location services as well. And then extension of that is to be used on the drone, because you are getting the correct exact sub-centimeter accuracy for the location against a 2.53 meters inaccuracy, which is there from the GPS as well. So there are different technologies that are there, and also wherein, in order to address the risk assessment, wherein when the BVLOS is deployed and you have a delivery that has to be done to a particular location, how does the provider ensure that the route plan that he has done for the drone is actually going in a way that has a good network coverage? Because the drone has to be ensured that it is traversing a path that has a good network coverage as well. So telcos actually can provide that information, because they get complete information about this particular path, what is the network coverage there, and so they can assign the network path properly to the provider, so that they can address the use cases more effectively.
Pramod, I could go on this topic, and the other interesting part that Kapil mentioned is this grand risk, what also is a super hot topic which telcos can provide information about, right? So, right. Unfortunately, we have 1 minute left. So this maybe for a future discussion. Time flies, when you spend well. So maybe we can go around and everyone could have one takeaway, really one sentence about this topic, Internet of Autonomy. And maybe Hans, a takeaway to the audience or a summary of the webinar, please.
I think that connectivity is key. It's not the future, it's happening right now, and we need to work together in the ecosystem to convince the legislation to also set the next step. And that can be a small step for the legislation, but a big step for the drone industry.
Fantastic. Kapil?
I think it's already happening across the world. If you look at UK, where we are based, the regulators have tried to embrace the use of mobile technology for command and control. We do understand EASA in Europe is also thinking very intensely on that, and so is FAA. So I think we're seeing this positive movement happening towards enabling this technology, which is a good news. So I think what I can share with the audience is the rosy picture that we've been painting is really becoming a reality in the near future. That's what I think my takeaway is.
Thank you. Jan, please.
So very short, I think there is really exciting times ahead. We have all the drone technique. We have the mobile networks to fly the drones autonomous. And we have a lot of customers in the public sector and private customer that really are front runners and have already started to use drones for VLOS missions. And they are now into BVLOS and to trial and to train and educate themselves how to take advantage of these exciting areas. So with that, thank you very much for having me.
Fantastic. Pramod, please.
Yeah, so I kind of echo all that the other panelists have said over here. I believe the future is very bright. I think we are on the cusp of the tipping point is there in order to start adopting different interesting use cases on the autonomous drones.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for everyone, and again for the event partners, DJI and Sunflower Labs, and also always for the organizers of the NextGen webinar. I think they really did a lot of effort to make this event happen. And with that, closing this webinar, and thank you so much.